The Nebraska Open Meetings Act was posted on the west wall. Roll call. Rich,
Yes.
Rex,
Present.
present, Steve,
Here.
Kim, here, Frank.
Present.
Let's have, do the goals. Rich, do you want to start with goal one, please?
Sure. Goal number 1, Stapleton Public Schools will ensure academic success for all students.
Goal number 2, Stapleton Public Schools will develop strong school community partnerships to maintain traditional values and promote school activities.
Goal number 3, Stapleton Public Schools will improve or build new facilities.
Goal number 4, Stapleton Public Schools will value and treat all staff members as professional by allocating resources and providing meaningful professional development.
Goal 5, improve the communication among board members and the superintendent.
Gina?
I see, I thought it looked like there were two
Gaffney,
there.
show it to Mr. Gaffney. It was pushed, put him out for me.
I thought it looked, I said, you think there's double.
It was right.
No, we know, we
It was Rex stolen.
I just couldn't do without it.
Board development.
You're addressing me.
Well, I don't know. Does anybody have
We've,
one?
Steve and I went to a little gathering of lawyers here a little over about a month ago. And it was an informative meeting. And Steve asked me to get some more stuff put together. I don't think I got that to him, but anyway, we both made some fair notes that would probably bore you to death at this point in time, but I think it helped me, and I'm sure it helped Steve as well. And Steve thought I'd be one of the more informative ones that he's attended for that type of information that he did receive. So, I encourage each and every one of you, if you ever have time, to attend anything that they might want to put on, especially in North Platte. Some of the schools that attend there with their boards come an hour and a half sometimes too. So we are fortunate that we're only 27 miles away. And so I would encourage that you try to make as much time available for gatherings like that as possible.
I'd like to apologize for not being able to make it that night. My dad was having surgery and it was supposed to be over by that time, and it went on and on and on. So
Family first for a lot of things, as we talked about that here a while back as well.
Okay, I made contact with Robin about the board retreat or development type thing that NERCSA puts on that we talked about. He suggested 8 to 24 people. So he would suggest that each board member find additional couple people or one person, He said 8's awful small, but some of them can get awful large. He said it would identify strengths and weaknesses, and they would go over the last 5 years, and then they would set up some teams or whatever. It would work on developing goals and building goals. So he said that he would like to have 2 to 3 options for dates. So we just need to kind of think about when we could do that. You guys said the latter part of summer. So they would come 1 week, and he said they like to follow up in 2 to 3 weeks. They don't like to wait much longer. That's what I learned on that.
So would we look at maybe first gathering in August, maybe second week, or is that too soon?
I'd rather see it in July personally.
I can just go with-
Whenever there's some time we definitely wouldn't work for somebody, I guess. Do you want us just to get back to you, Howard, with that, or? I mean,
As board president, why don't you see if you can't, run a little survey if you want, or I can, on dates that would possibly
We
work.
can put that out there. I just,
And,
It's too far in advance for.
yeah, right. But so we need to be thinking on how many people, we're thinking that you want to decide to have, whether it be the 24 or, just keep it within the administration and the board. He said sometimes it's better if you branch out some, kind of like what we did on that superintendent search. And I asked him if we could pick who we wanted to come, and he said he would probably be there, but Cindy has other commitments right now, but they might be done by then, so. Okay, we don't need to excuse. Are there any other board development? Excuse absent board members. We don't have any of those. I need an approval of the agenda.
Make a motion for that.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Rich,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Rex,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
yes. Publication of notices.
all the usual places.
At this time, we will receive public comment and recognition of visitors if there's anyone that needs to speak. Okay, we'll move on to old business. Approval of prior minutes.
I'll make the motion to approve was there 3 prior minutes? As presented.
I'll second that. Any discussion? Kim?
Yes.
Christie, yes. Frank?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Rex?
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
Approval of claims.
I went through everything with, all right. Kim said the one to Kimbers for 1550 was 911 fuel additive instead of diesel fuel. I didn't see anything that was, so I'll make the motion to approve the claims as presented.
I'll second it.
Any more discussion? Steve?
Yes.
Rex?
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
Frank?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Yes. Treasurer's report.
Okay, I didn't take the time to ask our business manager what percentage of the budget we have spent at this time, but probably in the 60, low 60s as far as the percent of the overall budget. And that might help a little bit with what we see here as far as the general fund is concerned. We're quite a little bit under where we were this time last year, but also has to do with some of the receipts that come or not come in. Logan had a nice goal for us. Lincoln County, we received nothing. And if you've been reading the newspaper the last couple of weeks, there's a reason, I guess, for that. I believe I was informed that it could be anywhere from 3 weeks to maybe months before they'll get all of this cleared up and the money sent to us that we have coming. And so, anything else you want to report on that?
Well, Lincoln County or North Platte School said that they had noticed the shortfall, so I went back to January when the new treasurer came in, and we're down about 11,500, which could be just people paying their taxes too, but we won't know for sure until they couldn't give me even what ours was this month. So,
But even though things were close a month ago, we're within a couple 100,000 of where we were a year ago. Expense, payroll, bills, under where it was last year by about 62,000. We paid out this particular month. And same for what we put out last month. Total cash, a little more than half of what we had a year ago sitting around. Special building, of course, it's up over where it was a year ago because of what we've asked for. Appreciation, same, it's above where we were, less than last month, of course, for some expenses we've had, but more than a year ago. Qualified cap is the same, we're just keeping that open. Employee benefits. Hot lunch. Still looking good, even though we're a couple grand under where we were at this time last year. But we have enough in storage to get us off and going, even though we tried to make some corrections there. Activity fund is sound. On the backside, you have your interest-bearing accounts, it's various CDs, CD numbers. Interest is paid quarterly, as you remember, so we had no interest to show this month. To see the numbers we have there for that. Which is the newest numbers that that's
it's not on there yet because we just opened that, so.
okay. I didn't think it was, if I remember correctly. We just opened another one for at 250 just last week. What's that?
225.
220.
Jenny, could you refresh my memory why we have to keep that qualified cap open?
Well, if you guys would ever decide to do that again in the budget, I mean, if you would decide you don't want to, we could close it out. But, you know, it'd save, if you ever decided that's where you want to start building money up again, it'd save us opening another account.
I guess I couldn't remember and I just wanted to ask.
The one that will probably close is the employee benefit because we have nobody else to pay, and that you just put back into the general fund. So,
And that qualified cap doesn't have to be this certain amount.
it's not drawing any interest.
Okay.
Not drawing any interest, or is it costing us to?
I didn't know I knew once it dropped below a certain amount, they started tacking cost, charging
No.
them, so I didn't know.
If you think you won't be doing that, we could close it out.
I can remember why there was that in there. I just wanted to double check.
The activity page, is there any questions there? Wrestling fund balance is as well as concession stand. I think we still have some supplies, and we probably should have done something with at this point, and we have to start with start up with next fall. Do you know, I don't recall, did the rodeo,
The sophomore parents this year that will be juniors for prom next year, they used some of the supplies out of there, and that's not reflected in there yet. It was only like $150, I think, something like that.
questions?
Any more questions? We'll move on to the community liaison.
May 6th, we had Fine Arts Night, the Science, and the Social Studies Fair. Thank you. It was a very busy evening, but it was great to see all the different projects, and we can definitely see that we have some very talented students. May 10th was Community Cleanup Day, which we had to reschedule it due to weather, but we had more projects again this year than we've had in the past, so it just keeps building and growing. I want to say thank you to the Stapleton Chamber and the Bronco Branded Beef Program for providing lunch for the kids. We are working with the Logan County Library to encourage our students to attend their summer reading program. This year's theme is a universe of stories. Starting May 28th, children are invited to go to the public library at 10 a.m. on Tuesdays. The elementary walk down to the library to show all the students where the library is located, and then Kathy had a chance to talk to them about the summer reading program.
Preschool report.
Okay, I
No,
know,
activities, sorry. I skipped one. Activities director report. Sorry.
That's okay. So as she said, on May 6th, we did the Fine Arts Science Social Studies Night. It went very well. It was busy. There was a ton of people here in and out. It was kind of nice. I heard a lot of great things about that actually from parents because they only had to come in one night instead of 7, which is a huge deal. So we hosted the Dave Blevins track meet on May 3rd. The attendance to that was also higher. There's been discussion of maybe changing the location for next year. It hasn't been decided yet. Rylan Johns, Jackson Starr, Tad Dimmitt, and Tally Martin all attended junior high state track, where Tad placed 4th in the shot put, which is a big celebration for the junior high. And then we hosted the activities banquet for the awards on May 9th. That also was a large attended function. We might consider having it somewhere else other than the Bronco room, maybe, in the future, but it was a good 3-hour-long, nice activity. On May 1st, I met with all the head coaches for next year and had the opportunity to visit with the new hire from over there, Jason Phelps, and we went over some summer things, and within that decided that we were going to do the junior high and high school retreat at Lake Maloney on May 29th and 30th for the high school and August 3rd for the junior high. I'll leave the rest for the co-op.
Okay. Preschool report.
okay. I'm just gonna do the highlights and explain something. So we did meet, we had a good turnout. I was going through the halls getting people, but we did have a good turnout. So one of the questions I know you guys asked is why can't we charge them for meals? We can't, according to the state. But as you see, the full day rate went to $15 and that's up from 10. So that is covering some of the food and the meals. And then the rate per attending, for children attending in the morning, eating breakfast and lunch, but not staying all day, but eating those 2 meals, will go to $10 from $5. If I say something you don't remember it that way, let me know. And the rate for children attending the morning eating only breakfast will be $8, and that's up from $5. And monthly bills continue to be sent home at the end of the month, and they must be paid by the 10th. They had a very successful open house on May 9th. There were 12 in attendance. They estimate they'll have 17 students for next year, and 15 are boys and 2 are girls. And we've been seeing that for a while. They updated their physical ed and nutrition policy. They'll receive a $100 award for completing that program, which includes teaching healthy eating and physical activity. And they're doing this so they can keep progressing on their step up to quality, which is kind of like school improvement for preschool. And another thing that they did was both Mrs. Rumback and Mrs. Williams completed 18 hours of pyramid model training. And that's like a behavior plan for preschool. And it's to prevent disruptive behavior rather than correcting it after the fact. Is that pretty much everything you remember, Steve, from that?
Okay, I've had a little bit of feedback on the preschool program. Actually, most part of it from parents. They feel like letting the kids just come whatever days they want, whenever they want, sets a bad precedence for them for the future going to school. And I kind of agree. Like, if you only want to come in the mornings, then you should come. If you want to only come Monday, Wednesday, Friday, then you should come every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or whatever. But I think they need to be on a set schedule, because I do feel like it sets a bad precedence for them to say, well, and then when you get into kindergarten, well, I want to go to school today. And I don't know if I had to go on my certain days. But I think maybe that's something we need to look at.
If I can interject a comment, something that we've been doing, Steve and I found out at that meeting we were to here in this last month, that you are not required as a district to pay mileage to a family that has a preschool student. The buses run anywhere close to where they may live, or they live on a route already established, yes, pick them up with that. But to get them to that point, well, nowhere was I ever clued in on that prior to that particular evening. We may or may not have set a precedence by supplying reimbursement to a family this past year. Even though I found that out that night, I didn't feel comfortable cutting it off the next day once we made an agreement. But I think in the future, we need to make a decision whether or not we are prepared or care to provide that added service, which amounts to money, if we don't want to run a vehicle into their location.
And then we need to put that in that handbook too, once you guys decide.
We need to wait and do that on a,
We'll put that on the agenda
Agenda
for
for
next
next
month.
month.
Make that decision. Okay? Just thought I'd. One of these is.
I'm asking permission for me to do our principal report early because it's a lot about scheduling, which Mrs. Neal was instrumental in, and she can add some to that. If that's okay with everybody. Okay. So I'm going to go over high points because I have a lot to share. Because you read the report, right? That I sent. And it shared how we went about the scheduling. We tried to involve as many people as possible. There were some big changes. One was how we're doing the co-op with Virginia High. That was a big change. And we're working, for people that went through that revision meeting, we're working more towards career pathways. We just read this seniors, she did a survey for them as they were leaving high school. And what they're asking for is career information earlier, classes that they can use. I'll share some things on the actual schedules with this, and I've told you that I'm going to be busy here for a while. And so here's another board report that was added. You can pass that around. And basically, I just wanted to share some of the grants that teachers have written and received. And they did this on their own. And one of the things is the Perkins grant. And we, Mrs. Balkan, Mrs. Burke, and Mrs. Burnside all applied for that and received it. And you have to be a vocational career teacher to even apply for those. And then I shared this little thing about NPCC updated dual credit. This is the kind of things we're getting all the time in the mail. So this one is what we have to do for them to take a dual credit class is it has to be taught by somebody with a public school certificate. So that's how you get your dual credit and the teacher. So this one that just came out were offerings, dual credit offerings for kids who are interested in physics and engineering. So I just wanted to share. I mean, we're getting things like this from them all the time, engineering, etc. And it tells some of the classes they could take and prerequisites. And we do have students that are interested in engineering, so this would help them along the way. Okay, high schools, you can, if you have questions along the way, go ahead and ask them. Here's the high school schedule. I was just working on it today before I came down because I'm doing the 2:30 out and the 10 o'clock late start times is what I was working on. It's open right there.
Disregard this one.
Is it an extra?
No, no,
No,
It
we
was in
had
our packet.
some
it was
in
already in
the-
our packet.
Okay, this is slightly different.
Okay, that's what.
Slightly different. Okay.
So this is the most up-to-date one.
Yeah. And that's why I'm updating right now is these times. We're putting the junior, or the 8th graders who'll be 9th graders together. And that opens up opportunities for students. That allows Mr. Weenus to teach psychology. Mrs. Stewart allows her to offer anatomy, which the kids want badly. So that opens that up. I see a spelling error, typing error, not spelling. So Mrs. Doty, we're adding speaking to this. It wouldn't be a college speaking class and it wouldn't be a competitive speech class, but yet we have some kids who said they would like to be attorneys, that type of thing, would want experience in that. Mrs. Hauser is a big change. This whole math, Hauser, Harvey, Paben. So we hired Mr. Harvey to teach math, which opens some things up. We, and the teachers will tell you over and over, we need a tech person here. Nate does things well remotely. Sometimes he can fix my machine without ever being here. He can't fix the students' machines. He has to be here to do that. Sometimes we need to have a computer switched out for him, especially when we're testing. When I was thinking about doing this, Scott Jones was in the building doing some work for us. And I said, what do you think? And she's done this before. And he said, I think it's a really good idea. You have some things that really need to be taken care of here. And he thinks that she'll work. Mr. Gaffney and I talked to her tonight after most of the people left. She was looking for places that she could gain information about that. Things have changed a little bit, like the type of computers we use for students. So she's looking for ways to educate herself. STEM is on there for her. We just got information back from the students' ACT, which I'll share with you sometime. But STEM was listed as a category for the first time. That had never happened before. And we were rather low in it because we haven't taught it. So that's why we added that. And she's looking for ideas for that too. Then we've got Mr. Harvey, and He should be grayed out the last.
There's
It's
no age
7 to-
period on there.
Oh, okay, I'm gonna bring up my computer. Everybody's grayed out. Okay, he's open last hour. So he won't teach last hour. Okay? So if you look at your other ones that you have, that might give you an all look at mine. Okay. So then we have Mr. Paven, who's taught 5th grade. He's got a K-8 endorsement. So I also made him title teacher. He's done the report for title, and we were a K-6 title school. Now we're going to K-12 title school. Lots of times, students that come to us later who haven't been with us all along aren't on target. They're at the same place in math that they would be. We have some kids who have IEPs that are at a different place. So that second hour, I know for sure that he'll be teaching 4 kids in 4 different math areas. And he'll be doing that with the help of some programs. And I don't know exactly all the title kids yet, because it kind of happens when they come back, we learn more about them. But he'll teach math 6, and this is kind of an interesting thing, is he'll teach math. We actually teach blocks for elementary. Math 6 would be considered an elementary class. ELA and math and that type of thing is a block for us. We have like about 2 hours. So he starts teaching it, that's the first 50-minute, period 4. Then the kids go to lunch. Then they come back for about half an hour, have math, and then they have math during that short lunch period. And then that equals a block of 100 minutes, like they've had in the past. And it also gets the lunch room not so full, because 6th, 7th, and 8th will eat separately. So they don't have 142 kids, I think is what we saw at lunch at one time. And I kind of like that, because those teachers could get together at that time, and we keep trying to, 6th, 7th, and 8th, they're not high school kids and they're not elementary kids. They're kind of their own unique beings. Then he coaches. Mrs. Costa,
I
like
have a question for you real quick.
Yeah.
Okay, you have him you have Mr. Paven doing the title math elementary during 7th period,
Mhm.
and isn't he junior high coaching? Which is 7th and 8th period?
Yes, so I can use him some, yeah, he'll be, yeah. I'll look and see on the elementary what happens, okay, that I'm gonna give you here.
Okay.
But we can move things around still. Mrs. Costa, like we've worked with her, she's nice that when she says art, she'll let those kids take art in different levels of art. So that helps them get what they need. And I tried to leave it open so that her plan was in the morning and that she had AD time. It's not in a block, but it's as good as I could do. Music, we're working on. Counting's pretty much the same, or Mrs. Burke's very much the same, only she goes down the elementary to teach too, and I'll share that next. Mrs. Balcom asked to have welding 2 hours in a row, so that they, and so they'll have welding 2 hours in a row, and that's first semester, and then they'll do woods 2 hours in a row second semester. This large animal is now going to change back to intro to egg, is that correct?
Mhm.
And that class will offer some of those things, Kim, that you were talking about, that you want students to know, those basic types of wood things, household repair, that type of thing. It'll be on that. But we got another place for that too. Mr. Clokey's schedule is pretty much the same. Mrs. Catlett, remember in 6th grade, we don't keep them with just one teacher anymore, because we don't want that change from 6th grade to 7th grade to be so abrupt. So she's teaching, ELA stands for English Language Arts, the whole ball of wax. So you can see where that's kind of a block. Then she has 6th grade writing. Teaches writing to 7. Writing has continued to be one of our lower areas in academics. And then her lunch is very much like Mr. Havens, that they have lunch. Then she starts teaching speaking, writing 8. It's always just been writing. And I think our kids need some speaking information too. So I'm adding speaking and writing, and they've had writing now for 2 years in a row that we've been intensely, so I'm adding that. So they go to lunch, then they come back and she teaches them, and then she teaches them during the lunchtime. And things are planned. And then I've got her SPED science this hour. There's some kids that need help. She does have a SPED degree. With her going in there, then we could use 48% would be returned to us because it's SPED. So that's why I put that there. And then she has 6th grade social studies. So she has them most of the day except for 2. Mrs. Neal, I don't know if you know, but Mrs. Neal's been here almost every day till 8th hour, even though that's not what her schedule was previously. Is that right? And, but she's grayed out in the morning, so she'll still come in 1 hour late. We're teaching careers. That's something they're asking for, more career information. This one's not a class that they have to have yet. It's an elective. Then she has guidance. She has kids in there all the time too. Here's our senior survival that we're adding. And we have it 2 times just so we can meet the needs of the kids because it just didn't work out for all the senior schedules without splitting it. I don't think it's the worst thing because they're going to be working on resumes and writing essays and seeing what scholarships. You want to share kind of what the things that you're working with that?
Well, it's kind of a rough draft that this morning we worked on. It's kind of, and I kind of want to split it up 2 semesters. The first semester will be basically scholarship, working on the scholarships and essays and doing the resumes and those type of things that they need to go on, no matter what they're going to do. You know, if they're going to get a job, they need that resume, they need some job skills. If they're going to go to college, they need to do some other things. We're going to hit upon those first semester. Second semester, we kind of brainstormed this morning with Mrs. Burnside and Mrs. Belkin that we might do some things. They might teach some things like Mrs. Belkin might teach the changing oil and tires, changing your tire and that type of thing. And Mrs. Burnside would kind of teach some wellness and health type of things and nutrition.
When we start scheduling it, she needs them several times during the year intensely. So it's hard to, when we originally started thinking about this 2 years ago, it was like, why couldn't this be like an exploratory where they go to different, and I can't make it work. However, I think you guys want some more. We talked about, yeah, they're going to get some of that stuff in Intro to Egg that you were talking about. Those are freshmen, pretty much. So that doesn't help our seniors, our juniors, our sophomores. And so this is a beginning. And I hope I have it. So what we're thinking about is that we make a checklist of things that we'd like them to be able to do that we think is important and that we take them during win time. And we make one of these for each student and they go through the checklist. And it's be either they can do it or they can't. And this is what I think. There's still some things we have to plan and smooth out. Like you can pass these. These are the rounds for family consumer science that they need. And one of them says how to craft a handwritten note and place it in an envelope, address, stamp, and mail it. And you're probably going, we have kids that can't do that. They did it and they couldn't do it. So that's what that's about. One of our problems we're running into is you probably could teach that in 25 minutes, but you can't teach all of these in 25 minutes. And they want some of your input, like look this over and maybe see if there's things that we aren't addressing that you think is really important. I killed a few trees before you came tonight. Okay, thank you. So this would be the ones that that Mrs. Waltham came out with. Is there enough to go around? So don't hold our feet to the fire on this. This is our first thought. The other thing we discussed is these days that we've been here, one of the things we're working on is scope and sequence, and that you put your curriculum. So we have our math from K through 12, okay? But when we're talking about this, we do it for math, we do it for ELA, we do it for science, we do it for social studies. But perhaps we need a lifetime skills scope and sequence, because I know that Mrs. Burke teaches some things in personal finance, which is a class that they have to take. So let's just put down who's teaching what where, with the idea that everybody would get these skills before they graduate. I'll let you look that over a little bit. Is that kind of the things you were thinking about, Kim? So if you think of some others, share them with me, and then we'll figure out how we get a time. We were talking like kids don't know how to call a pharmacy to get their prescriptions. They just haven't done it. That type of thing. Another thing we probably said is, I wonder if parents are teaching this. That's the other thing we talked about.
They don't know how to call and make an appointment. to
No,
go
they
to the
don't, do
doctor
they? No.
Or any of those.
So this is the elementary schedule, hot off the presses. We met at least half the day on this one. And it's really small.
As a period.
The big difference for elementary is this piece. Because I don't think you want teachers not teaching those 2 days that they're not with sports for junior high. So this one's mine. Pass those around. So that opens up, that really works best for them to teach how STEM to the elementary, careers and guidance. It really works better for me to have that taught at the elementary, those extra days. And, but I don't want the elementary to have, this Lacey gone, I'm just checking. I don't want the elementary to have 1, 2, 3, 4, these hours plus music, PE plus, okay? And that's too much time out of the classroom. So this rotates through. So these teachers would be having classes during the exploratory 5 days a week. But now they take them out for these. So art is always the same because she has a fixed day. But like the kindergarten, 1 week they'll have guidance on Tuesday and then careers on Thursday. Then we have a B schedule and we'll flip flop them the next week. Then we have a C schedule. And on that days, they'll have title and then STEM. And then we have a D schedule where they'll have STEM and title. The A schedule will always be the first week of the month. The B will always be the second. The C will always be the third week. The fourth one, the D will be the fourth week. So when we start school, it's like the third week. We won't start with schedule A. We'll start with schedule C. What I've been trying to do is I've made schedules, but some of them are 4 or 5 pages long. So I've been trying to get them all on 1 page so people can look at them quickly. And you can see where like the 3rd grade wrote when she would have specials, but they're all pretty much during that 7th period. We're gonna run keyboarding or skills K through 5 during last hour. And they're gonna be, they'll share an hour, a lot of them. So we have to do keyboarding because by the time they're 3rd graders, they're asking them to do things on the in-class, right? And kindergarten will start with just like these are letters and what they have problems. First grade, when we do maps testing, they have to pull things down for answers, that type of thing. So we'll be teaching those skills. And Mrs. Burke didn't know she was going to teach those younger ones this morning. She thought it was just going to be 3rd through 5th. But we talked to her about the needs. We had the elementary teachers meet with us and what they were. And she just asked several questions. I think she was excited about it. So.
I just can't imagine her teaching kindergarten.
Oh, she'll be good. And they were saying, that'll be so good for her. She talks slower than I. That's a good thing. So. Our scope and sequence, that's just the beginning. One thing I just found out is we have quit legacy standards for science. Originally, they weren't totally going to be ready to go till like 2022. But we just got an email saying, quit teaching legacy standards now. Right now, at this moment, we start teaching the higher, more difficult, more STEM-like college and career standards, which I'm really glad because otherwise we still have one class being tested on the old standards while the others are learning the new ones. It's hard to make that jump. So I'm glad they just did that. And we actually will be tested in science next year. It'll just be more like a field test and then they'll get that information and see how they're doing on test questions. If if the questions are wrong, confusing, etc. Is that enough for one night? I think that's everything. Any questions?
If I can interject kind of what we did, probably Mrs. Walker and I spent more face time with these students, I think, than ever in the past. First of all, we sent out a kind of an interest thing, what they wanted to do. Everyone sent one back in. So we took that and decided what classes to offer. Then we sat down and visited with them. And then we sat down again to do their schedules. So we had a lot of time with them and trying to decide what to offer them. And so you can see that kind of interjected in the schedule. We're doing a health, maybe we're trying to get into the health career with medical terminology. You'll find that on there. That's an online class that the students can take anytime. We've set it into, I have it in every period, just depending on what period they have free, they can do that. And then there's math for health. And also some of them are interested in the CNA program to become certified nurse's aide. And so we're looking into being able to do that, maybe second semester, I don't know, in the afternoon. So we're trying to get some options there for the kids and some career choices. One of my master's degree is in career education, and I love careers. I love doing that kind of thing. So we have these. If any of the board members have ever would like to see what the students are interested in, I've kept all of them. We also have the exit report that we did this year, kind of asking the students that graduated what they would like to have seen offered. And we had some good comments on it. We went through. So if you'd like to look at that sometime, we're trying to make this, trying to meet the social and academic and emotional needs of our students so that maybe when they leave here, they'll have good background. So if the board members ever want to see those are available. We also have options for alternative classes that they can take. A lot of them are dual credit. We do have a program that other schools offer. We did have a student this last semester take one that was offered through another school. It costs the school money, but that's an option for them. A lot of the students do not want to pay for dual credit. It is expensive. We have a couple of students that would like to take it and can't afford it or don't want to pay for it. I can give them a scholarship. It's an ACE scholarship, but they have to be on free and reduced meals. But that is, we've had one student take advantage of that this last year, and she'll take advantage of it again to get her college credits for dual credit. And I'm working on being able to teach a dual credit in intro to ed, so they'll have that option too.
Well, we talked to kids, we showed them what they had to have to graduate, which was new to them, like they have to have 2 hours of PE or 2 years of PE they have to have. 4 years of world history, so explain that to them. Then our question was, well, what is it that you want to do in the future? You know, when we're making those decisions, on how those decisions determine what you take. One of our biggest challenges putting the high school schedule together is foreign language, which we have to offer. We say we offer 2 hours of, or 2 years of that, I quit saying that, and they have to be the same. The people that teach this mostly have retired, and I have one already quit this year who taught a lot of schools. I have no idea how long the ones that we have this year is going to stay teaching that. In fact, she teaches it in Wyoming. Is that right, Mrs. Green?
She's from Wyoming. She's contracted through Grant, Perkins County,
Mhm.
but she lives in Wyoming, so everything's on.
Did you by chance look into that Kansas one that I?
No, we have not. But here's what we are looking into. We have somebody that can sign language. That could be, we have a teacher who has done this forever because her daughter, her sister is deaf. That could be foreign language. We've made some phone calls, like what would it be for her to become endorsed in doing this? She's very interested. She's passionate about doing it. The only person that offers a program that's great is the Lutheran school, not great, Concordia. Mhm. So, and they're all on vacation until May 29th. So we're waiting for them to get back to us. But it would be wonderful to have someone in our system, and hopefully somebody who stays for an amount of time that could offer this to our students.
But do we want to take our kindergarten teacher out of kindergarten?
Right now, I can do it for 1 hour because that 7th hour where they have all those specials. And then I could back that up to their recess. I get a little worried when we have them out. I don't think we can have her out for 2 hours, but then I'm going to ask them if they have anything online for the 2nd level. So that's just kind of we're looking into. Don't hold our feet to our fire, but I think we've got to do something for foreign languages because it's a few of them offer.
So you would drop Spanish and that type of thing?
We're okay this year.
We looked into the schools that, the list isn't very good yet. They don't have enough. Teachers from other schools will teach things. I mean, then it comes through distance learning. It costs a school. And so we inquired about that, and it's going to be $800 per student for Spanish, to take the Spanish to another school. So we're kind of,
I think that one in Kansas was 500 a student.
Okay.
And it was through the university, I think.
University of
K-State. I think
Kansas.
it was K-State.
Okay.
I'll look it up. It's in my pamphlet thing at home. And there is a town in Nebraska that have used them for 8 years, I think he said, or something like that.
No, we appreciate you taking the time to help investigate that.
Then there was another, I don't know, the University of Nebraska High School. Have you looked into that? I don't know.
I've had students take those classes. Many of them don't finish them. They're very expensive.
Well, and I know that the instructor on that Spanish said that it's almost best to have 2 at least in one of, in those
yeah.
Spanish classes, because he said 1 doesn't work well. He said 3 is probably better.
Mhm. They don't get a lot of,
They can teach up to 3 years, they can get 3 years on that one.
and why we have that world language is because if they go to the University of Nebraska,
I have a kid that has.
they have to have it.
They have to have 2 years.
Mhm. The same language, so that's why it's one of our requirements.
if anyone would like to see what I have planned for my senior survival, I have it kind of, as I said this morning, was kind of just put it together, but some of my ideas. And if you have inputs on that. I'm kind of giving an idea of what I would like to do, a study of cultures. I think when kids leave here, they have to know different cultures have different things that are acceptable in that culture. I think they need to know that, the dress and different stuff, the language acceptable, and date rape, how to get a cab, Uber usage, since that one girl was killed with her getting in the car with the urban. How to file a complaint, addressing local, state, and federal elected officials. I think that's important. It's something I really don't know if I want to get a hold of my state senator. How I do emails, but I think they need to know they have that right to do that. Identifying personality types. It's very important to understand personality types and to work within those. It's nice to have all personality types on a team, and they need to understand the difference. How to manage conflict, drug and alcohol abuse, painkiller abuse, balancing school, social life, and employment, choosing to live at home or on campus, identifying and coping with grief. Grief includes everything, just not death, It could even include getting an F in a class, could be very devastating to a student. So those are some of my ideas. If you have other ideas you would like me to put into that senior survival, please let me know. I'm open to suggestions.
Do you have any job shadowing or is that available?
That is the career one. When I teach career, we'll do some job. We can get, some people to cooperate with the job shadow. And that's kind of what we've been trying to do, putting all the core ones in the first part of the day. So maybe we eventually could get into job shadowing and maybe go into North Platte so they could look at different careers and so forth.
Interviewing.
And I know Marcia has said she would help us with interviewing, but I think it's a good idea to get people the kids don't know, that they're not comfortable with, So,
We said we have to get that lady that managed the care home to come up and talk to her kids. Showing up on work, leaving your phone home, and your drama out. She'd be a good one to interview.
Oh my goodness. That would be intense. Scary.
Okay.
I bet you thought I was here wanting more time, didn't you? I'm leaving.
Thank you for letting me, so that she could go home.
thank you.
Thank you.
You are very
Appreciate
welcome.
all the extra effort you put into this.
We started in January. Working on this. We're still.
See you later.
Okay, I guess we'll move on to the board committee reports.
I made copies of the co-op minutes. In the future, I will send that to Gina and it will be in your packet. You can get a look at it before we come.
Okay, any other reports?
Well, I'd just like to add to that a little bit if I can. Is this the place that I do? Yeah. So, like I said, I met with all the head coaches to get them rolling, especially on summer activity stuff going on. The last time we met, we talked about getting that moving, so I did that. The committee and our superintendent said to go ahead and start with uniforms, so we did order football and volleyball uniforms. And then thanks to the Booster Club and the foundation and the school, they split new volleyball standards 3 ways so that we can run 2 nets at the same time, since we have so many kids with volleyball now. So the only way to accommodate that is 2 nets. So that's a good thing. I was informed that McPherson County approved a phone app for better communication, since that is a downfall of ours, but it's also, since we're in 2 different locations. They purchased a phone app for their school and it's a tie-off of theirs, but it'll be a specific Maverick phone app that anybody can download and have access to it. So instead of posting everything to Facebook, like if I'm at a game, I can just snap a photo, upload it right there to that app. And instead of like a Facebook thing. So anybody that has access to that app has access to like that feed, but it's also a way to communicate with kids, and it's a good deal. It does cost money, but McPherson County said that they're gonna pick up the tab on that, so it's a good benefit to us that I was just made aware of. Committee meets again on July 30th here in Stapleton. I don't know what time yet. And Kira from the Booster Club, they were supposed to have a meeting tonight, but they postponed to Thursday, so I'll be talking to them still. They're working on the mats for the gym. I think that's it. Unless you guys have anything to add?
Is that app available now?
No, not that I'm aware of. It will be though soon. You can get on McPherson's app and see how that's run. It'll be set up the same way. A lot of schools are doing it. I think it's like 13,000 a year or something silly. But it's actually really nice because that's how this world is. It's all app friendly.
Okay, any other board reports?
Think the negotiations will come out later?
We'll move on to discussion items for new business. Update on athletic co-op with McPherson County.
Oh, well.
That
It's
came right up.
She was looking ahead.
Sorry.
That's about it. Extra duty parts are kind of.
That's up there too.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to action items. Discuss and take appropriate action on employment contract of certified staff.
We have contracts have been issued, and I believe they've been signed by all of the teachers but two, and those two were not present today because of other commitments. And so I recommend that we do your part and sign off on those. We feel they are what we need to run an efficient school district next year. Oh, okay, I was thinking appropriate action on employment contract with certified staff, and we have Mr. Harvey is willing to come back and work as our math teacher 7/8 time. He will be placed year 10, step, I didn't put that down. We have the,
His index is 1.51,
yeah,
He's a
1.5.
BA 27 at 10, step 10.
Now, I deviated from what we came to with the negotiated agreement, which was going to be 6 years, but finding math teachers, like I pointed out to a few of you already, is not an easy accomplishment. We have one other application. We interviewed that young lady, and Mrs. Walker was involved in that as well. Just didn't quite fit what we were looking for there. I made some verbal contacts with several other people that I thought might be interested. They declined to even apply.
We had an interview set up and she was hired before she even talked to us from the other school.
We had one other interview that a particular person might be interested a year down the road. She had already signed a contract and she was pretty sure they would not let her out.
And now she's absolutely sure they will let her out.
Mainly because she knew there would be no applications come into that school district in the meantime. I visited with superintendent that's close by. He was going to visit with NDE. He's needing 2 positions filled. Hasn't had any applications, period. What is Nebraska Department of Ed going to do to help with this? And it's just really showed up this year more than any of the past 4 or 5 years. Some of these teachers are leaving before they even retire. Just don't feel, I guess, comfortable with the teaching position. And of course, the baby boomers are in that retirement age mode right now. So, leaving the profession right now. Like I mentioned to you over the last month, Kearney, for instance, had 3 music majors graduate a week and a half ago. All 3 of those had a job offered to them, and they accepted as early as January. 3. How much better are the university?
I'll make a motion to extend the employment contract to Mount Vernon.
Seconded.
Any more discussion? Frank,
Yes.
Rex,
Yes.
Rich,
Yes.
yes, Steve,
Yes,
Kim.
Yes.
That's the only employment contract.
At this point, we're getting closer to one other one possibly. Work out some minute details.
Discuss and take appropriate action on increase of FTE for guidance.
Walker.
Like I said, she's here anyway, and I say, keep track of your hours, and she goes, no, I don't, I think it's okay. The other thing is, one of the strands we're working on is emotional, academic, that type of thing. And we looked at all our kids, and we have one of the best programs that you can do with students. That's 7 Step, we already own it. I want to get her in the elementary classes, and I showed you where that would happen. And the other thing is we need to start career education even down there. So she hasn't been in the elementary a lot this year because of the short schedule, but she will be down there now. Not only will she have classes, but she works with individual students that come up. She may work with groups of students. I know that she's working with 2 or 3 of them repeatedly, just even this year. And I've set in on some of those. And they look forward to working with her, and I think it helps.
Okay, so what do we increase it to?
7/8, she doesn't come in first hour.
I think you heard everything that we're trying to add and implement for the betterment of the education of our young people. It takes people to do that. I'd recommend that you buy into that contract, 7/8.
Do we have any discussion, any more discussion?
I'll make a motion to increase the FTE for guidance.
I'll second that.
Rich got it. Any more discussion? Steve,
Yes.
Rich,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Rex.
Yes.
Yes. Discuss and take appropriate action on the 2019-2020 school calendar.
Okay, we finally took time to look this over more closely. We had a couple of things we needed to probably change, but one of them is the spring break. Needed to come about on probably 13th of March, as we have it listed here. And then I think originally we had planned for the 13th to be
There wasn't anything
and-
there.
when.
There wasn't anything there. It was a regular school day.
And so that change was made. And because of what we want to do with some teachers with in-service days and whatnot, as you can see, our teacher days have increased in a number there of 184. But they're only under contract for 182. And that's all that they'll work. And I'm planning on probably having a snow day or two. And so that'll bring that number down if need be. Or we will shorten up the year in May if we don't have any snow days to equal what it comes to 182. Now, we all realize that teachers didn't have to make up every day that we had a snow day this year. And I think a lot of them do appreciate the way Mrs. Walker and I have handled that. And hopefully you will agree with what we came up with. But they didn't necessarily have to match that 182 that they were under contract for. But not every winter are we going to have the conditions, hopefully, that we ended up with this year.
Okay,
There's a couple minor changes I told you to accept.
I have a motion that we approve the 2019-2020 school calendar.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
any more discussion? Rex,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes,
yes, Rich.
Yes.
Discuss and take appropriate action on 2019-2020 extra duty assignments.
Okay, is that worded? Deals with coaching pay percentages. I think we need to have that in line with what I think the co-op committee come up with.
This is just on who's doing the extra.
It's just the extra duty assignments. It's not
Oh,
the coaching pay.
once again, I'm getting ahead of myself. Excuse me for that.
I think what he meant to say is he recommends what the co-op committee recommended to him.
Is that what you're recommending?
Yes, that's what I'm recommending. The next one. Item number 4, not 5.
Okay, do I-
I'll make a motion, we accept the extra duty assignments as presented.
I would second that.
Any more discussion? Kim,
Yes.
Rich,
Yes.
Rex,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes.
Steve,
yes,
yes. Discuss and take appropriate action on coaching pay percentage.
I recommend what what the co-op committees came up with for the percentage factor. Going off the higher base percentage.
so what are you
Okay.
recommending?
Yeah, so would somebody from that committee kind of put that out there to tell us exactly what that is, just so that it's kind of,
We assumed that as a committee, that we're gonna pay off the higher of the two bases, which is trial.
Okay.
I know there was a discussion on whether or not what the lawyer said about it. I've never heard an answer. on that.
And I think because it was just an athletic, the way I understood, because it's an athletic contract, only the athletic extra duty will be on McPherson's base.
That was correct, right?
Whose percentage? Whose percentage, because all of them aren't the same, are they?
Now, they will have to go off McPherson's percentage because they are negotiated already, but there's a higher percentage. On the junior high, they're
Well-
0.5% higher.
The percentages probably aren't necessarily gonna change. It's the base as such.
So is it
The
whatever
percentage.
percentage is higher plus their base.
Yes.
Do I have a motion?
I would make that motion, yes, sorry. Read it.
I have a second.
I'll second.
Any more discussion? Rich,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes.
Rex,
Yes.
yes. Steve,
Yes,
Kim.
Yes.
Discuss and take appropriate action on activities director pay percentage.
We had a negotiating meeting earlier, and we have negotiated with Mrs. Kosteleski to raise the 80 percentage to 21%. That will be of Stapleton's base, and she will also get a $500 a year phone
Phone.
data
Phone allotment.
allotment, however you want to present that.
With $500 a year.
Yes. And then we are also going to work with her on getting a revised job description that is more on point. And the reason we came up with that percentage was we checked into what other athletic directors in the area were getting paid, and that puts her in line with everyone else's DD. Co-op DD.
and they're getting 35% of their school teaching time.
So all of them are a little different. They ain't like cut and dry.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion to change the 80 to what we just discussed.
I'll second it.
Any more discussion? Kim,
Yes.
Rex,
Yes.
Rich,
Yes.
Yes.
Steve,
No,
yes. Discuss and take appropriate action on wall mats.
Turn that over to the AD at this point. She's more aware of what's happening.
Again, I am meeting with the Booster Club on Thursday at 6:30. Kira was looking into the mats and doing all the groundwork for that. So
She doesn't have an approximate amount or anything, or?
she has not gotten back to me with any quotes yet this far.
Are we looking at just a generic wall mount like we discussed earlier?
Yes.
Okay.
Just plain color.
And then bigger, right?
Correct. Yes, bigger and wider. Taller and wider.
Getting tall.
Well, there's like 1.5 feet
Protection.
below
Oh, lower.
or something, so,
You hit the floor and slide up.
I ref one of them games with one.
yeah.
Okay, so does that need to be tabled or just leave it?
I would table it.
I'll make that motion.
Have a second.
I'd second that.
Any more discussion? Rex,
Yes.
Rich,
Yes.
yes. Steve,
yes,
Kim,
Yes.
Frank.
Yes.
Discuss and take appropriate action on classified wages.
Okay, if you're gonna have a successful school, it takes everybody involved, whether it's the office, lunch, people that prepare it, and our aides. Our aides currently now work off a $9 base. There are some school districts as high as $15 right now for their aides, plus single insurance. Paid for 9 months, they have to cover the 3 that they are not working. When visiting with the aides, none of them felt that they needed to have any help with insurance. They were well covered by what their husbands have provided. You have in front of you what some of them have worked themselves up to, either from a quarter an hour to 30 cents an hour, or some years they were even frozen. My recommendation is we increase that base from $9 to $10. Another reasoning for that was brought to my attention that Walmart's starting pay now, I think, is $11.77. Now, with increasing that base to 10, those that are making $12.62 right now will be making $13.62. And of course, that changes over time if they should ever get to that point. Hot lunch. People put in some tough hours as well. We're putting out quite a few lunches on a daily basis. My recommendation is we go $1 there an hour for Sandy as well as the 2 that she's working with. And Sandy recommended that they definitely get some help. My office people. We are fortunate to have the experienced people we have on staff. I would like to see, or I am going to recommend, you take it from there. $2 an hour increase in their base wage. Now, Mrs. Harvey does not care to have a bus route next year. So more than likely, she will not probably be pulling as much overtime as maybe she has in the immediate past. Gina is able to get a lot of her work done in a 4-day work period. Still drives her 1 morning route on that Friday. And then fills in when absolutely necessary, or we twist on that arm to, she has to run that afternoon route as well if we can't come up with anybody else. Now, as was decided a couple years ago, when you have people that are also working during the day and driving a bus, those hours all have to be put together to so they're included in how many hours a week they work, and so that affects overtime. Those are recommendations. In the past, we've usually just, from what I could gather from history, The boys went with one particular amount for all those categories. We've already increased the bus. I think we're good enough shape there, at least at this point, in hopes that we can maybe get adequate drivers for next fall. Now, we are two less this past year, two less aides than what we've had in the past. We are able to, at this point in time, get along with that number. Depending on whether or not we'd have some people move into a community that would require possibly another sped aid. But at this point in time, with the numbers that I think we're going to have, that's not going to be necessary. It's in your ballpark.
I have a question. How does the overtime work with, were there dual purpose driver and, let's say, aid? How do you determine that?
Like for Chris and I,
Well, it doesn't matter.
or
'cause
Sandy, well, it's those, us three of us.
Yeah,
that drive.
You've
right.
got some paras.
Paras that do the same. I mean, how does that work for, what do you figure they're getting the bonus or the overtime on?
They're the pairs that are driving, that is just what they do. Like Marlena and that, and she does have her North Platte route, but she takes Donnie over, she clocks out and goes to her other job. And then comes back and picks him up, and so she only charges us for the drive time. So, and Darla is just a drive, they don't have overtime.
Okay, I just.
But for Sandy, Chris and I, it starts from when we start on Monday, and it just keeps adding up. It takes us an hour and 15 minutes, that's all that you can add up on your hours of actual time. When you're guaranteed 2.5 hours, that difference
Oh, so
cannot
it
be
backs
added
down
to.
there. Yeah. I was curious.
It has to be just actual time. We didn't used to be that way. We had it separate and we were okay with that. And the past superintendent said that you can't do that. It's,
That's where I was kind of confused in that part because it was like, it's two separate jobs, you know, how does that?
that's what we considered it, but you're working for the same school, you're working really for the same company or whatever.
Okay, that's what I didn't know that.
The only other alternative the way I understood it at the time when he presented it was the only alternative you have is if you would take the two positions and combine the two, if you could agree on a mutual wage between the two of them, that you do. You do that wage for both of them. And it was set up this way.
You find that out if you visit with your attorney.
Right. So how many end up
That's under fair
overtime?
labor.
How many of them end up overtime?
Sandy and Chris and myself. Mine's not so much because I try not to work
Okay, so
Fridays.
which pay scale do you go off of when you go to overtime?
The virtual time clock that we use puts how many hours we're under business,
Okay.
like for me, and under bus. And so the ones that are under business gets paid at that rate, the ones under bus gets paid at that rate. It separates it for us. And I can show you
Oh, I'm just
wondering how you decipher whether you get paid at
right.
office overtime or bus overtime.
well, it starts adding it up and if you look at as your week goes on and you get, let's say to Thursday or Friday, it'll start putting you're this much over. Once you get to 40, then everything's over.
On which one?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is there's two separate or two separate pay
So
amounts.
so let's say, I'll just use myself as an example. Let's say Thursday at noon, I've reached 40 hours with the two of them combined.
Okay.
So anything after that, any hours I work at the office
Okay.
would be overtime. If I then let's say I take my Friday morning route, that would be overtime.
So whatever you're
It keeps
doing
it
now,
running.
Whatever you're
it keeps
doing.
that separate, okay. I was confused, I was like, okay, that's not.
And I can show you, like, if you want to see our time cards.
And since they're working for the same entity.
Got it.
Got it.
I just couldn't.
That's what I couldn't
I
get.
couldn't wrap my head around that either.
Thank you.
The program is really good at doing that. I don't have to.
That would be pretty difficult to try to figure out. all of it, I think, just simply. Okay, do I have a motion?
You want it to time or-
I think it's just
or
getting
as
everything.
presented?
I think I would do as presented. I mean, unless you want to do separate.
If you're two on the
Right.
office, right, and one on the other screen.
Yeah,
And leave the buses alone.
right, because we already did that earlier. And may we change that to non-certified staff instead of classified? In the, because it's non-certified here and it's classified here.
They've started going to classified. It
Okay,
used to
so
be,
whichever then, let's, okay.
it used to always be non-certified and it was certified, and now it's classified.
That was easy to keep straight.
I know,
Yeah.
well, they're always changing.
That's okay.
Yes, I can change that on,
Okay,
this is probably the one I need to change it on.
okay, all right.
That's what it needs to be corrected.
I'd make a motion to increase the non-certified or classified staff salaries as presented, $1 for aides, $1 for hot lunch, and $2 for office per hour.
I have a second.
I put paras in there, Rich, is that okay for AIDS? That's another terminology that probably needs changed.
I'll second it.
Any more discussion? Rich,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Frank,
No,
Kim,
I'm gonna say no.
yes, Rex,
Yes.
discuss and take appropriate action on surplus property.
Okay, I've worked up just a short list there. These are some of the stuff we doggone sure need to see leave us. We got used garden hose. Some people really like to patch up used garden hose, and we've got hundreds of feet out of it out there in the corner. Whether it's a buck or two or three or four or whatever. My recommendation is, we've got this community garage sale coming up here in June. I'm willing to devote my Saturday to manning the trailer and get what we can possibly get out of some of this stuff that I put down here. We also have a used pressure washer hose and a gun. They're both good, but you know what stuff works to some people might be questionable. Got some used tires. Some of the stuff we've tried to put out for bids and it wasn't worth cost of probably advertising it, I guess. Got some electric motors and I've also got the description of the size and whatever there. I'll make sure that information gets put out. Same with the tire sizes. Bus seats, anybody interested in bus seats? We could take all the seats out of that little bus that we're going to get rid of. Somebody could use those in a shop, put a couple blocks of wood under them, and they'd have a nice place to sit down and rest if they've been hard at it in the shop or it's raining too much, one or the other. But those would work well for that. That same bus has an AM, FM radio, works good, so on and so forth. My man that doing the trade with us, he said, take it out. Same with the mirrors on there. Take those off and we might be able to use parts on our other buses. I could probably even change out the batteries, some that are weak, and take those good ones that are in there out, so on and so forth. So Then we've got this used 3-point rear mounted blade that's got a foot or so broke off the end of it. It's not going to probably do us any good. We're going to get it replaced. Somebody might want to maybe whack it off accordingly on the other side and have themselves kind of a narrow one. We've got 2 adjustable basketball standards that have been replaced with newer, more modern equipment out on the elementary playground. Those might as well be taken down and disposed of. School desks, chairs, and tables, we've got a few of those that a few of them are beyond repair, some of them that probably never going to be used again. Got surplus uniforms, all sports and sizes. Some of them have got quite a little bit of age on them. It's just been put in totes and whatnot. We'll go through and be very careful that we're not letting something out that could be used or reused again. But that's just a short list. There's some other stuff we could probably take up.
I make the motion that we let the superintendent dispose of any surplus property that he sees fit at the garage sales in June.
I'll second that.
Any more discussion? Kim?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Frank?
Yes.
Rex?
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
Yes. Move on to the superintendent's report.
Okay, the report I have here, you've all probably read through it. I'm not going to repeat any of that. I was informed last week that our transition teacher in the SPED area on the secondary level, we will be able to get reimbursement for her services from the feds this coming year. But if she doesn't at least reach 50% of what it takes to be properly certified by the end of the next school year, we will not be able to draw any of that. She's aware of it. We definitely are aware of it. She doesn't think at this point in time that she wants to probably pursue that as a career option. Now, she would really like an elementary position. SPED teachers are very difficult to find as well. She has done us a good job. Would you agree or not? And we're willing to keep her on board for this coming year. And even though she could possibly go another direction if I was so kind-hearted at this late date, probably not an option for our school district. Okay. The STEM trailer, which we had a year ago, we weren't able to get it worked into the schedule this year, has already been scheduled, I believe, for about the 3rd week in September, I believe, I think. But anyway, it's locked in. And then today I received an email from our attorney. He said we need to be looking at making some policy changes that he'll recommend that we look at. It'll be here sometime in June. But because of some legislation that's already been passed, especially LD 103, I'm not going to read through what changes we may have to, well, it sounds like we're going to have to maybe make. And so when we were a little bit on the conservative side with the budget that we proposed for the general public to take care of this last August, and if I have to increase that to speak of it all, it's going to require a little more work on our part. Thanks to your legislature. And it's kind of spelled out here, so you might want to take time to read that. That's what will have to happen. It basically is going to make us have at least one more hearing for the general public to have some input in. if they should care to. Last two budget hearings that I've gone through and was well prepared to try to answer questions that there may have been. We didn't have anybody show anyway, so that may not affect us to speak of at all. So I'd probably have one other time. That we got to go to. Okay. And then the other thing that I didn't include all deals with Americanism. A lot of what they're going to expect from us on that part, we are already doing. And I will get that information to your board president, who is also on the Americanism team. And she can work to make the necessary changes that we are going to be asked to do because of legislation that was just passed here last week and a half ago. Any other questions of me concerning the report I have given?
This time, if we have a need for an executive session, we can get into that.
Okay, I'm going to recommend that we go into executive session to discuss a situation that may have come about as many as 10 years ago with some contract labor that we have worked with. And so just to allow you to hear what has or has not taken place at that point in time, and then over the years since, I move that we move into executive session.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Rex is making a motion, so I repeat that, right? That we move into executive session. For what?
Protect the public.
To protect the public interest.
That's
I'm
on
trying
that
to
one.
find it on here.
And the reputation of.
Yes, I move to go, the school board go into closed session to protect the public interest or prevent needless injury to the reputation of an individual.